The United States ambassador to Israel, former Arkansas governor and former presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. Ambassador, thank you so much for making the time for us this morning.
Greetings. My pleasure. Greetings from Jerusalem.
The holy city. Today, President Trump laid out what Iran needs to do to avoid military action from the United States. This is what he told a reporter who asked him about whether talks with Iran were still occurring. Watch.
I have had, and I am planning on it, yeah. We have a lot of very big, very powerful ships sailing to Iran right now, and it would be great if we didn't have to use them. I told them two things. Number one, no nuclear, and number two, stop killing protesters.
Ambassador, if the United States does act, what would be the principal objective, and would you expect that this would be a very surgical strike?
It's hard to say, and only the president could make that decision, not only as to when something would happen, but to the degree it would happen. But the thing I would say to the Iranians, to the regime, listen to what this man is saying. This is not a person who makes promises he doesn't keep. He makes promises that he does keep. And if he's telling you you're not going to have nuclear weaponry, and he's told them that before, and if he tells them you got to quit killing people in your own country, then they would be wise to listen. They would also be wise to hear the fact that he says, we'd like to have this armada there and not have to use it. But I think the president understands it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. He's making a smart decision by placing these assets where they could be used and where all he has to do is give the order.
The United States and Iran, Ambassador, both set to conduct military exercises in the Middle East in the coming days. Do you believe that the U.S. would permit the leadership in Iran to seek asylum in Russia as a way of preventing a U.S. attack and ending the bloodshed there?
I think President Trump would do just about anything to avoid a military conflict. Now, would that include asylum for these people? It might include an asylum, and I'm guessing here, but I can't imagine that they would be able to continue making threats against Israel and the United States as they have been doing for 47 years. There's a lot of tension here in Israel right now. Everybody thinks something could happen. And I say to people, because they ask me, is something about to happen? I say, I don't know. But last week when the snowstorm hit the U.S., everybody went out and bought milk and bread. Whether they needed it or not, they had it. They went and bought it. They emptied the store shelves. What I would say to people is, let's not think that's going to happen, but be prepared in case it does. Don't be stupid and wait until something happens before you get ready for it.
Let's talk about Israel, Ambassador. President Trump announced the Board of Peace in Davos and indicated that he is moving into phase 2 of the peace plan. For the first time in more than a decade, there are no hostages, dead or alive, in Gaza. The president also discussing reconstruction and redevelopment plans. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seems to have some concerns about whether we're in the right spot to advance to the next phase. Watch this, sir.
I also hear now the statements that we will allow the rehabilitation of Gaza before disarmament. That will not happen. I hear that we will bring in Turkish and Qatari soldiers to Gaza. That will not happen either. I hear that I will allow the establishment of a Palestinian state in Gaza. That did not happen, and it will not happen.
Some forceful words there from the Prime Minister. Have we made progress in disarming and demilitarizing Gaza, or getting Arab nations to step up to provide a combined force to help lead that effort?
We've certainly had tremendous progress with the Arab world. Every single Arab country signed the peace agreement with President Trump at Sharm el-Sheikh. It was historic. Most people thought that could never have happened. Quite frankly, it wouldn't have happened with any other president. He brings leadership to the region, to the world, that no one else could. I can tell you the practical effect of the peace agreement that maybe a lot of Americans won't understand. I've been here less than a year, have been through 4 wars. Only for the last 3.5 months have we not had missile alerts, rocket alerts, and had to rush to the shelter. This has been the most calm, peaceful time in quite a while, in really about 3 years for the people of Israel. It means that mothers put their babies to bed at night right now, and they don't fear they're going to have to get them up 2 or 3 times, scoop them up from their cribs, and rush them to the shelter to protect them from incoming ballistic missiles. So it's already working. Now, the president has made it clear Hamas has to disarm. This isn't an option, and they agreed to it. President Trump is really good at keeping his promise. Hamas, they're horrible at it. Let's hope that they come to their senses, that they understand that it'll either be done the easy way or the hard way. And the easy way is for them to surrender their weapons and recognize, as the president has said, they got no future in Gaza.
Ambassador, are the Arab nations that signed the agreement, do you believe that they are pressuring Hamas to do exactly what you just said? Are they taking an active role in doing that?
They are. I can tell you that there are a number of efforts that are being made. I will give the Egyptians a lot of credit for this. They are making it clear that, look, you're pretty much alone out there. I mean, that's what brought everyone to the table, including it's what made Hamas finally at least agree to give up all the hostages. Now, it took them longer than any of us wanted, but if you'd have told me 5 months ago that Hamas was going to have all the hostages released and that every one of them would be back by now, I would have doubted that. President Trump, working through these Arab countries, has been able to get it, and you mentioned it, it's very significant. For the first time since 2014, there's not a single hostage in Gaza being held by Hamas.
You can't lose sight of the progress that has been made. And, you know, much of the legacy media here has blamed Israel for denying food and aid to Gaza. You've been on the ground. What's really been going on there?
That's the biggest lie, and the media is good at telling lies, but that's one of the biggest ones they've ever told. There's been more humanitarian assistance taken into Gaza than in any war zone in the history of the world. That's just a fact. The idea that there's not been enough supplies given, first of all, whenever was it the responsibility of a nation that was attacked, in this case Israel, when was it the responsibility of the attacked nation to provide food and assistance for the nation that attacked them while the war was still going on? People seem to forget that, for example, the Brits, they were dropping things on Dresden, Germany, but it wasn't food. It was major bombs that killed 30,000 civilians in a matter of 5 days.
Right.
So I think the Europeans and the media might want to sit this one out and get their facts straight before they start saying somehow that Israel was not allowing humanitarian assistance or that they were going in some genocidal fashion. It's simply not true.
Ambassador, before we go real quickly, I did want to get your take on Hillary Clinton's latest opinion piece, MAGA's War on Empathy, where she really blasts President Trump's supporters as essentially being anti-Christian. And I'm not going to, you can read it there on the screen. But you're not just a diplomat, and you've not just been a governor, but you're also a faith leader and somebody who is recognized as a strong leader within the Christian community in this country. How do you respond to Secretary Clinton's claims there?
As an American, she's certainly free to express her opinion, as wrong as it could possibly be, and in this case it is. But for her to talk about empathy and to give us a spiritual lesson, this is the same person who was Secretary of State when Benghazi went down, and she did nothing while we had Americans who were being slaughtered that wouldn't even perhaps have died had there been an immediate reaction and sending forces in to protect them. So maybe she probably wouldn't be the best person that I would listen to for advice on empathy.
Ambassador Mike Huckabee, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.